Welcome back to this channel. Today I'm going to talk about the most popular product management frameworks. Product managers face a common challenge whenever they need to develop a product. What is the right methodology to use? There are so many methodologies to choose from, and there isn't really a one-size-fits-all approach. You can think about a product methodology as a series of steps to take to design, test, and launch a new product. There is definitely some overlap with the project management, but the difference is that product management framework really only have to do with the launch of a product. As I said, there is no right answer, but the framework that you choose really depends on three key variables: how flexible you are, your budget, and then your time constraints. Let's now dive into each methodology. The Agile methodology is used whenever requirements and constraints are complex and so require a certain degree of flexibility. The Agile approach is also very good because it allows you to make incremental requirement changes, and it also allows for a collaboration between different departments. It's a very flexible methodology and also one of the most widely used, especially for software development. So in terms of pros, it's very adaptive. It can embrace a lot of change and constant changes to requirements. It enables collaboration between different departments and also enables to receive feedback from the end user. Product goals can be defined with all the stakeholders. In terms of cons, it actually requires dedicated resources that have to be quite expert in this methodology because it's not very easy to implement. It's a bit weak in terms of planning, so it is very important that the deadlines are also kept on track in order to avoid slipping and delaying the project. And then in terms of negative, because of all this flexibility and new requirements that come in, it's possible that the final product is actually very different from what you had initially thought at the beginning. The Waterfall methodology is the more traditional one. It was originally developed in the manufacturing world, where typically one development stage had to be completed before the next one commenced. As you can imagine, Waterfall really means that there are different streams that are all dependent on each other, and before the first stream finishes, the second one cannot start. In terms of pros of this methodology, the documentation is normally really clear because the requirements are decided upfront. It's also well structured and very well planned. So typically the results can be delivered on time because with this methodology, the planning part is really strong. It is very easy to manage and implement. It has fixed cost and is very predictable. And then also team changes are very easy to accommodate and predict. In terms of cons, so definitely there a lot of time is spent on documentation. The product is only delivered at the end. So it is very important that a lot of time is spent on defining the requirements because then you actually don't see anything in the intermediate process. It's not possible to run multiple work streams at the same time because, as we said, the work streams are run one after the other. And then it's not generally a very flexible process, so it does not accommodate many changes. Scrum is a subset of the Agile methodology. It's also an iterative process, but it enables you to do fixed iterations. They're also called sprints. A sprint can last between 1 or 2 weeks, which means that then the deliveries can happen at a more regular cadence. Scrum also emphasizes a fixed set of roles, tasks, and meetings, also called ceremonies. If you want to know more about the different ceremonies inside the Scrum framework, I'll leave you a video somewhere up here where you can deep dive into the different ceremonies in this methodology. Scrum is well used whenever you have very complex product requirements that need to be managed in order to stay within reasonable timelines. Talking about pros and cons, the process is very transparent. Because there is a lot of structure, it allows for a lot of accountability. Changes can be accommodated, and also these regular checks decrease risks. In terms of cons, it actually requires very committed members and very strong leadership. Because of the daily cadence of the meeting, it's also important that these meetings are very focused, otherwise they can also be counterproductive. If sprints are poorly defined, they can also cause confusion and delays in the process, and the product development end date needs to be defined very clearly in order to avoid endless requests for iterations. Finally, another methodology related to Agile is called Kanban, which means literally visual sign. This methodology can also be used for personal productivity, and it involves using a board made of to do, doing, and done. Think about, for example, Trello style boards. This is a Kanban board. This methodology is really good for very small teams with just a few tasks. In terms of pros, it's very easy to understand, a very low degree of confusion. It's also a very flexible methodology. It provides a lot of transparency on the work that is in progress, and it allows teams to very easily identify what are the bottlenecks of the process. In terms of Cons, it's actually not a very good framework for larger teams. It can be tough to coordinate with the cross-functional teams. It actually does not define a delivery date, and so it can actually create spillovers if progress is not managed consistently and effectively. And then with the increase of additional categories, it can actually hide important information and complicate things a little bit. To conclude, what is the right answer? There is no right answer. It really depends, as we said, on the cost, the timelines, and also the flexibility that you need. Probably the right answer lies in a mix of these. So there are a number of companies that actually mix different approaches, and depending on what they're building, they will choose the right methodology. I will leave in the description below a link that has many more methodologies than these ones. These are the 4 more popular, but yeah, let me know in the comments which one is your favorite product management methodology, and let's start the discussion. I'll see you in the next video.